We all had to deal with crazy customers, but I found some stories on Reddit such as customers demanding a lady's purse because it's just too fancy for her to own. So sit back, relax, grab yourself your dinner and or snack. Hosted by Flora Green. Got screamed at over nachos. Hi, so this happened a few years ago. I was working at a small cinema chain in the UK. I'd been there for about 6 months and Frozen 2 had just came out. It was half term, so we were busy a lot of the days. Now, all my coworkers had been there for a couple of years, so they knew all the discounted deals. I didn't. So our cinema did deals such as you buy a regular drink and popcorn, you can make it into a regular deal to save money. There were different ones, including a kids deal, which was their choice of either popcorn or hot dog with a drink. This will be important later. So I was working on a late shift on Tills, and we're super busy, as in line out the door busy. This was for the evening show of Frozen, I think. So a woman comes to my till with her son and asks for a kids deal with nachos. I explained politely, sorry ma'am, kids deals only come with your choice of XYZ. Nachos aren't included. I proceed to explain to her the different deals she could get with nachos, but obviously they weren't cheap as a kid's deal. The lady kicks off shouting, pointing at her side of the counter, saying the sign here clearly says you could get nachos. You need to give me nachos. I had no idea what sign she was talking about. There wasn't any sign like that when I came on shift, and I couldn't see it as I was on the other side of the counter. We literally go back and forth like this. Me on the verge of tears, her getting increasingly louder and throwing her arms around. False advertisement! I want my nachos! Finally, I radioed my supervisor to help. She had been watching the whole thing on the cameras. She explained I was right. However, you used to be able to get nachos in the deal, but they stopped it and covered up the sign. The new sign had fallen down, showing the old advertisement. The woman ended up buying a normal nacho deal, but the rub is, if she had been nice, I would have just given her nachos and put it through as a kid's deal. But she was rude as fuck, so no cheap nachos for her. After the rush, I went upstairs to pretend to adjust a projector and cry. Imagine screaming at a teenager on minimum wage over nachos. Honestly, some customers are the worst when they don't get their way. It's as if they transform into a 4-year-old wanting a kid's meal at McDonald's, but then the parents go, no, we got food at home, and then they make a big deal. Also, all the stories are in the description down below if you want to go check them yourself. Also, hit the subscribe button. That would really help me out. I'd appreciate it. Alright, to the next story. Posted by Luna Likes to Draw. Ma'am, she's on break. I work at a popular dollar store chain in a small town, Texas. We have an old computer system that occasionally needs to be reset due to its glitching. Before the events of the story, we had a problem with some coupons that wouldn't ring up properly, which caused a small bit of a lineup to pile up at my register. The only register open at the time. Most of the customers were super understanding and kind. They usually are. This one particular person wasn't the most friendly. That's okay. I could deal with a grumpy or impatient. I'm almost always in a good mood and happy to help out. It may sound surprising, but I really love my job and my customers. This lady, we'll call her GC for grumpy customer, sets down 5 of those candy packages with 5 pieces of on-brand chocolate inside a rectangular cardboard strip on the counter. We had a scale of 5 for $5 for candy of the same brand. This is where things immediately got rocky. I began scanning and I was telling the last customer have a nice day. She cut me off. Yeah, okay, I need you to total those and see the price for 5 for 5 to see if you will actually apply this coupon. Alright, so I smile and say, of course, we could absolutely check that for you. I total the candies and the discount doesn't apply. Oh, I'm sorry ma'am, it didn't apply. GC gets huffy and rolls her eyes. Yeah, y'all did this to me last time. You're shorting me of my discount. I checked the packages to see if they apply to the discount. Immediately, I noticed they weren't made by the same brand company. GC, as I looked at the candies, loudly stated, they made Hershey's chocolate. I already checked. I didn't wish to argue with her and thought that maybe our system made an error again. Alright, ma'am. I'm sorry for the inconvenience. I'll go check with my associate, see if we can figure out the issue. Yeah, okay. GC crossed her arms and begins talking to the nice man behind her, who had a full cart waiting patiently while I walked behind a shelf to find my coworker. I heard GC loudly ranting to the man, this is why I don't come here. They are slow and always on their phones. Oh my god, I hate phones. I didn't know what she meant. We tend to keep off our phones, unless in the break room. I come back after telling my coworker, an absolute saint of a woman, that I needed her assistance. Alrighty, she's on her way. I smiled to the man and GC. We could go ahead and scan the rest of your items, ma'am, while we wait for her. I begin scanning the items before I get to one of the last bags of candy, before GC says, don't scan that one. Caught off guard, I say, what? Don't scan that one. It's $1 difference, which is what you owe me for that candy. That way you won't be shortening me. I hesitate and say, ma'am, I'm sorry, but I can't legally do that. She scoffs, and I try to explain. We can scan all these items, and at the end, when my coworker gets here, we can figure out if it's the system and see if we can't fix a discount for you. GC cuts me off. Okay, do what you need to do. I force forced a smile and finished the item. "This is too much trouble," GC says to the nice man, who says something with humor to lighten the situation. GC speaks again. "This is why I've stopped coming here. She's taking forever because she's there in the back playing on her phone." She was referring to my coworker who had been on break inside our break room, eating and scrolling on her phone. I speak before I could think and say she's actually on break. To my surprise, this made GC stop talking, and my coworker arrived to save the day. Thank God. She put her key in the system and asked what the problem was. "The candy," I begin, but GC cuts me off. "This is 5 for 5, and it's not giving me my discount. Y'all owe me $1 discount." Let's see, we could do this. My coworker does some magic with the system and sets it right to get this lady her precious discount. Alrighty, there we go. I say and total her items again. Finally! GC pays for items. "Thanks!" She stormed off quickly with her items. "You're welcome," and I immediately went to the next customer. "Sorry for the wait, sir." "Oh, it's okay," he chuckled, and cracked a few jokes, relieving me of my stress. Turns out the lady was wrong about the discount, and I had been right to check the candy, because it was in fact not applicable to the discount. We went to check because it was strange even for the system to mess up like that. My coworker just added a discount to diffuse the situation from getting any worse than it already was. I don't know who came up with the phrase, "the customer's always right," but they clearly have never dealt with actual customers. This is the last story for today, and it's about a lady wanting an employee's purse. Posted by FoxyLady315, entitled "Customer Goes Nuts Because We Won't Sell Her My Purse." Yeah, that's a little crazy. So for the last dozen years or so, I've been carrying around this gorgeous vintage designer bag I found online. I thought I bought it in 2010. I love it, and I will carry it until it falls apart. I get a ton of compliments on it, and it also caused this one crazy story. I spent 3 years working in an Ivy League college town upscale clothing boutique that catered to wealthy college students and their parents and tourists. We didn't sell anything like this bag, but I suppose I could see where it would have fit in with the things we did sell. One afternoon, I was getting ready to leave for my lunch break, and I had put this vintage bag on the counter while I was putting my coat on. An expensively dressed woman who had just walked up to the counter picked up my bag and asked my coworker, who was at the register, how much it was. I walked over and politely took it from her and said it was my personal bag and it wasn't for sale. She literally snatched it out of my hands and went off on both of us. The bag was sitting on the counter. It had to be for sale. It was obviously much too fancy and expensive for a retail loser to own. And oh, didn't we just wish we were Ivy League students like our precious babies? Which was actually funny because I didn't work there because I needed the money. I worked there as a favor to the owner, who was a friend of the family. Basically as a fill-in for one of her full-time employees who had a chronic illness and called in sick a lot. It allowed her to keep the other worker rather than letting her go for someone more reliable. This entitled woman probably really would have flipped if I had told her that my husband was a professor at our beloved Ivy League school and I could easily afford that bag. Thank you very much. So yada yada yada, this woman just keeps screaming at us. She wanted that bag so badly, she absolutely refused to believe it belonged to me. Started screaming about wanting to see the manager or the owner, and didn't believe my coworker when she informed the woman that she was the store manager. We finally told her if she didn't give me back my bag and leave the store, we were gonna call the cops. She refused, so the police were called. Police get there, entitled woman gets even worse and doubles down on her particular form of insanity. She tells them that it's her bag and she brought it in with her and that we were trying to steal it from her. The cop took the bag away from her and opened it and dumped all the contents on the counter. My cell phone, which of course I knew the passcode to, and she didn't. Prescription medication, bottles in my name, my checkbook, and everything else I carried on a daily basis. How she failed to recognize just from the weight of the bag and that it had stuff in it, I don't know. You could see the fear creeping into her face as the cops came up with one item after another that proved the bag was mine. When he got to my wallet and pulled out what was clearly my license, the woman jerked away from the second cop, who had a hand on her arm and pretty much ran out of the store. I kind of wish they had gone after her, but apparently they didn't think the situation warranted it, because they just asked us if we considered it worth pursuing her and pressing charges. Sadly, in that moment, we didn't want to be bothered. We just wanted it to be over, so we could go on with her day. I wish now that we had, she needed to be taught a lesson, or be forced to get mental help. She wasn't the only crazy entitled customer we ever got, but she was one of the most memorable. If you've ever had a crazy customer experience, leave a comment below and it might be featured in the next video. Thank you for watching.